there's no space for know-it-all in pregnancy, right? Because you think you know it, and then here comes this child doing something down there in your belly. I have memorable challenges. So one of the most important things to note about my pregnancy is that I'm a type 1 diabetic. And I find that as a type 1 diabetic, when you become pregnant, you also have to do a whole lot of advocating for yourself, because Jamaican hospitals are used to doing things a certain way, and of course they have policies and procedures, but then my experience was made a lot better because I had to do a whole lot of research before choosing the persons who would form my medical team. My medical team was not just assigned to me by the hospital. I did a whole lot of research. I did interviews. I interviewed all my doctors. I had them on trial right before putting together my team that would support me during my pregnancy, during childbirth, and onwards. So I did my research. I started out with one OBGYN, and then after having discussions with that doctor, I went on to get a different doctor who was a specialist who could handle patients with my specifications. So there's that, and then there's also my endocrinologist, who was a very important part of my team, because when you are a type 1 diabetic and you have a pregnancy, there are certain things that you have to look out for, right? So initially when I started out with my first OBGYN, that is my general gynecologist that I go to for all of my other problems, he is licensed. I don't know what the thing is, but he typically delivers at Andrews Hospital, Nuttall, and a hospital that's out of town, right? The thing is, none of those hospitals have the NICU that is that they have at UWI. So I needed to find a OBGYN who could deliver my baby at UWI Hospital, because here's the thing, there are many complications that come with a type 1 pregnancy. And I would talk to my type 1 diabetic community online. I would talk to all the moms in that community. I tell you, I do a whole lot of research, you know. So I spoke to all of them. And then they put all of their posts online, and they talk about what their pregnancies were like. They talk about what happens right after childbirth. And then that is how I started making notes about, what to expect. And one of the things that was very prevalent was that babies born to type 1 mothers, they tend to be born with either really high blood sugar or really low blood sugar, right? With, more cases leaning towards being born with low blood sugar, and you need to have the facility right there that is prepared, experienced, know how to deal with the baby of a type 1 mom. So immediately after birth, they know to take them, do what they need to do to make sure that they're bringing up their blood sugars, getting them to a normal level, right? And maintaining that normal level, so they have to be able to stabilize the baby. No. While I was pregnant, this was my thinking. You see, as long as when the baby born, they can take the baby and put him in the NICU and do what they need to do to take care of him, anything can happen to me. Mind you, this was pregnant brain thinking, right? But I was prioritizing the health of my baby, because I knew that whereas I'm an adult, I've lived with this disease, I've had this condition for all these years, I know how to bring up my blood sugar, I know how to take it down if needs be, I can take care of myself. But here is this baby that I'm bringing into the world who doesn't know anything about that, and will need people who know what to look for and know how to care for him. So I decided that as much as I could have a private room in another hospital, I would be willing to stay on a ward with other people, right? As long as I'm where there is a facility that can take the best care of my baby. So all of these things, my pregnancy was a lot of hard work, a lot of research, right? But the community that I had, the team that I had was All of my type 1 diabetic friends all over the world. I had friends from Austria, right? All over Europe, Scotland, America, all of my friends, and they're telling me, okay, so this is what you look out for, and this is your checklist, and right? So I had those persons, and then I had my endocrinologist. And my endocrinologist was responsible for caring for me, because interestingly, when you go to a traditional hospital in Jamaica as a type 1 diabetic, they expect that you have your medication, your insulin, or whatever it is that you take, and you take specific amounts at specific times for the day. That's not my regimen. My regimen is I look at what I'm going to eat, I calculate it, and I calculate the dose of medicine that I need, and I take my medicine as needed. I don't necessarily take 10 units of insulin 3 times a day, right? So problem is, the doctors and nurses at the hospital, they're never used to that. That new to them. So I'm telling my nurse, I just checked my blood sugar and I need to take some more insulin. And she goes, no, I forgot to call the doctor for that. And I'm there suffering with high blood sugar. And because it's not their policy, right, or they don't know, they're not giving me my medication. So I had to have my doctor on speed dial to call the people at the hospital to advocate for me, right? And even when you tell them, look, this patient has been doing this for years, knows is under my care, you know, you still get to push back. So I had to have my endocrinologist advocating for me. God bless her heart. If she see me now, she cuss me. But she was there advocating for me, right? And I, of course, had my OBGYN advocating for my care, but also the care of the baby, right? And then I had the NICU, and God bless every single doctor, every single nurse in that NICU at UA Hospital. They were amazing, right? They loved that kid, and as much as I could not see him almost 24 hours after I gave birth, right? But that's for a whole different story. They took such good care of him that if I had to do it again, maybe not in this economy, but if I had to do it again, then yes, maybe. Definitely Yui. Even looking back, I can't say that there is anything that I would do differently. I think I did the best with what I had in that moment. I look back at it and I go, well, if I knew then what I know now, then I would do something else, right? But at the time, I think I did the best that I could with what I had. I think for anybody, I'm not going to even look back and beat up myself about anything, right? But what I would say is you have to do a lot of research, because pregnancy is not a journey that you can read a book or watch a video and or have someone tell you what to do, right? It is very personal. It is the biggest individual journey that you can go on, right? And you have to be willing to learn as you go. It's not going to be, okay, well, I read all the books, I did all the courses, I passed all the exams, now I'm ready for pregnancy. Nothing no go so. There isn't going to ever be that experience. I mean, maybe, but that's the exception, that's not the rule, right? So it's a lot of playing it by ear and being open-minded and asking a lot of questions. There's no shame in asking all of the questions. You don't look fool. You look like you are interested in doing the best for yourself and for your child. So, no, I wouldn't have done anything differently. I think we have to just be willing to learn. We can't be know-it-alls. There is no know-it-all. There's no space for know-it-all in pregnancy, right? Because you think you know it. And then here comes this child doing something down there in your belly that is completely unexpected, never been written. So you just have to be open-minded. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to hear different perspectives, right? And you have to be willing to create your own space, have your own journey, because yours is not going to be necessarily the same as someone else's. I mean, it might be similar, but you know, it's different strokes, different folks.